The dynamics of customs law keep changing and new provisions are added, some are deleted, and the Customs Act 1962 has many features and especially a host of rules and regulations which are made by the legislature, including the appeals rules, various forms, and it's got a lot of implication on the working and it has a lot of implications on the importer and exporter besides the custom broker. All of us have the Customs Act in our office, but how many of us have the Customs Law Manual? If you want to know more, stay tuned. Hello everyone, I'm Viren Dayal, custom broker and LSC certified trainer in customs law, applied rules and regulations.
For latest updates, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon.
And the topic I've taken today is that why, as a CB or as a student aspiring to be a CB, should invest in a customs law manual which is covered in two parts. Let me explain why I prefer to teach from a customs law manual or why I refer to a customs law manual. As you can see, the customs law manual is in two parts, volume 1 and volume 2. Volume 1 is broken up into four parts. Part 1 is the Customs Act. The Customs Act 1962, the latest amendments, State the Finance Act of this particular year, are covered in the Customs Law Manual in Part 1. Part 2 are the rules and regulations, various rules and regulations like valuation rules, regulations like CBLR, import manifest, export manifest regulations, SCMTR regulations, and so on. Part 3 talks about the customs appeal rules, the appellate tribunal rules, and various notifications issued in this behalf. What kind of forms are to be used? What is the qualification of an authorized representative? All these are covered in Part 3. In Part 4 are various notifications issued under the Customs Act 1960. First, let me tell you about these four parts and they're interlinked with the other parts. First, let me tell you about Volume 1 of the Customs Law Manual, how they are interlinked and how it should be studied or how it should be referred to, especially when you are preparing for a competitive exam like maybe an F card or a G card. Let me begin by saying that when you open Part 1, it has the Customs Act. But let me take you to Section 18, for example. When you open Section 18, it says that you need to do provision assessment. In that case, what is the importance of the other part of this Act? So somewhere in Section 18, you will say that the government made certain regulations to give effect that the provision assessment must be completed in a time-bound manner. So the Act does not give the name of that particular regulation which have been made and where the onus is there on the proper officer to complete the provision assessment in a given time frame. Therefore, you move to Part 2 of the Customs Law Manual, and when you see the Customs Law Manual Part 2, you will come across Customs Finalization of Provisional Assessments Regulations 2018. So this regulation which I just talked about is directly related to Section 18 where provisional assessment is done. So while you are studying Section 18 as one example, you can also refer simultaneously to the regulations in this book in Part 2 where you learn the mechanics of how soon the finalization of the provisional assessment, you learn how soon the final assessment should be done of a provisionally assessed shipping bill or a bill of entry, and that the onus is on the proper officer to do so, and how he'll ask for various documents from you and related provision, time taken to complete, and so on. This is one of the reasons why Part 2 is important, because wherever in the first part, wherever regulations or rules have been mentioned, correspondingly Part 2 gives those rules and regulations which can be even referred simultaneously while you are studying to understand how they are intertwined and what is the importance of the regulation and how it is covered within the ambit and scope of that particular section. And then when we are studying the chapter of appeals and revision, which is chapter 15, the customs appeal rules, the appellate tribunal rules, and the notifications can help you to see what kind of forms have to be given, such as the statement of facts, the grounds of appeal, the various form numbers known as CA1, CA2 are given in Part 3 of the manual. So hence, while doing chapter 15, that is section 128 onwards up to 131, we can refer to Part 3 of the manual, which can give you a lot of information on how appeals are filed at various appellate authorities. Then the last part in Part 4 of the Customs Law Manual is notifications. Now when you come to a particular notification, it will help us to understand that the Act does not say the rate of interest for late payment of duty. When you open section 47 as an example, it says that in case of a delay in payment of duty, the importer will be required to pay interest between 10% and 36%. The Act only gives a slab. And when you open part 4 and you turn to section 47, notification under section 47, you will know that the rate of interest is 15%. Similarly, in section 47 also says that the government has notified that certain categories of importers can pay duty in a deferred manner, and rules have been made in that behalf. So here you can not only refer to the rules for deferred duty payment, but you can also refer to the notification in part 4 of the manual, where the categories of importers are given who can claim deferred duty payment. So besides authorized economic operator tier 2 and tier 3, certain public enterprises recognized by the government of India and CBIC can avail the benefit of deferred duty payment. So this is how the customs law manual in volume 1 will help us to understand the concept and also the various intertwined or interlinked rules and regulations, the appeals rules for chapter 15 and the notification under part 4 of the manual. Interestingly, when you open the customs law manual volume 1, you will find these yellow pages in the customs law manual which gives a précis of when customs duties began, import valuation rules, export value, but in a nutshell and easy to understand language. This can also be referred while doing a revision or a summary, especially when you are giving a competitive exam to qualify as a custom broker or a G card holder. So this is the utility or usefulness of volume 1. What is volume 2? Volume 2 of the customs law manual has part 5, part 6, part 7 and part 8. Part 5 are the various forms which are appended to rules and regulations of the Customs Act, which can be seen, such as CBLR, boat note, bill of coastal goods, as an example, are covered in part 5, and the forms can be seen to understand better how declarations are given, how forms are to be filled up, and so on. Part 6 of the Customs Law Manual, Volume 2, talks about mainly the allied acts like FEMA, AQ, PQ, FSI, FTDR, safeguard duties, COFEPOSA, FEMA, Custom Tariff Act, and so on. These allied acts are discussed in great detail in part 6 of the Customs Law Manual. Part 7 of the Customs Law Manual, friends, is CBIC's own manual, which you can download from the CBIC website or refer in this book, and has a host of circulars, notices, instructions and press note. And the CBIC's own manual has 30 chapters covering the entire import and export process, the entire gamut of import-export process, including the allied acts, including the FTP provisions, prosecution, arrest, and so on. All public circulars, all board circulars, all public notices, instructions are given in this very well illustrated part 7, that is the CBIC's own manual, which can be referred, and here you will learn how customs do work and what they expect us to do work as well, is very well illustrated in part 7 of the Customs Law Manual. Part 8 has the latest taxpayer series, the CBIC's further instructions, the SCZ rules and act, and so on. So if you have these two books at your office, and if you're studying for a competitive exam like CB, these publications will be extremely useful and will also guide you not only in a day-to-day activity for custom clearance, but will also help you gain a lot of knowledge. Hence, I recommend this Customs Law Manual to anyone who's engaged in the process of import and export clearances.
For detailed learning of all logistics subjects, visit www.logiveda.com.